Trey Lance. A lot of fantasy analysts love Trey Lance. You should love Trey Lance as well. Scheduled to be one of the potential guys that we're going to be talking about for several years to come, much like we have Lamar Jackson in year 2, Patrick Mahomes in year 2, Jalen Hurts in year 2, and I think Trey Lance could be that next guy. Maybe not to those heights, but certainly has the opportunity based on what he should do with his legs. We saw him in 3 major appearances last year, 2 starts, and he had 31 or more rushing yards. But based on the guys around him in this offense and what Kyle Shanahan does with his playmakers, Trey Lance could be a 4,000, 1,000 guy, and we just don't find that at the quarterback position very often. So I think he's got top 5 upside. He's in my top 10. Dave, I know you share that same sentiment that Trey Lance has a chance to be a superstar this year.
Yeah, I think he does, and I hadn't had to move him up in my rankings. So I was dragging a little bit on Trey Lance and where he was in our consensus rankings, but I've moved him up, and I think once you get to pick 100 overall, you're not going to find anybody that has more upside. The only issue, and it's kind of a big issue because he's a quarterback, is that his accuracy is a little bit off. You saw it in the first preseason game. It could be tied to mechanics, which means it's fixable, and it could be fixed within the next couple of weeks if he just remembers to put his arms a certain way, his feet a certain way. You don't care about that details. You just want the stats. I think you're going to get him. I think you're going to get a lot of rushing. Brandon Ayuk has had a great camp. He's going to be on the other end of some of those targets. And Kyle Shanahan knows exactly how he wants to use Trey Lance. Definite difference maker that you can find in the back half of your fantasy draft.
Travis Etienne, the next breakout for me, and I know I get a little aggressive when I'm drafting him, but I'm looking for him as early as the end of round 3, depending on how the draft unfolds, based on running backs and the wide receivers that are available. We know that James Robinson coming back from the Achilles tear is on track to be ready for week 1. So, Heath, when I look at this, I'm looking more at Etienne in the Alvin Kamara range, not as those heights, again, but airbag type of guy. Receptions are going to matter for him, and so format matters for him. But like DeAndre Swift, like Alvin Kamara, these guys that are going to be so productive in the passing game. I know you disagree on this a little bit, but can you see that path that I'm talking about, that he has, over 70 receptions in his last 2 seasons in college? He's with his college quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. And this receiving core, while it's upgraded, still not exactly a ton of talent with the guys around them, led by Christian Kirk. So I get a little excited about Travis Etienne, but can you see where the heights can be for him if things go his way?
Yes, if I was just only looking at upside with Travis Etienne, he has the athleticism, he has the college production, he has the connection with his quarterback, all of those things, and if he gets the Alvin Kamara role, then my concerns will pretty much all be gone. My concern's the other guy on the screen there. It's James Robinson, and whether they trust him more in terms of pass protection than they do Travis Etienne, whether they trust him more in short yardage. I would hate to see Travis Etienne like a trap back type role.
Sure.
But Robinson could force him into that type of situation.
He could. I just think that we're going to see, based on how this offense is going to improve, and Doug Peterson, the head coach, does have 2 running backs on his resume with 50-plus catches, one of them being Darren Sproles, the other being Miles Sanders. Etienne might be somewhere in between, closer to Sproles, though, as a pass catcher, and I think that will certainly matter when you're drafting him. So round 4 is probably the sweet spot for him. Round 3, if you're going to be aggressive like I am. Let's talk about the Packers running back situation, because A.J. Dillon, I think, falls in the breakout category. Dave, I know you like him as a breakout candidate as well. So Aaron Jones is on a different level because he's going to be so involved in the passing game, could lead the team in receptions. But A.J. Dillon actually had 4 games last year with at least 4 catches, averaged over 15 PPR points per game in those outings, and we know he's going to catch some passes as well, but he could lead them in rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. It does not mean because Aaron Jones is healthy and successful that A.J. Dillon cannot be in that same sort of range. Again, not to the same heights, but somebody you should be looking for maybe as early in round 4 in non and half PPR, round 5 in PPR. Dave, how aggressive are you drafting A.J. Dillon?
I would rather take A.J. Dillon in round 5 than Aaron Jones with a top 20 pick. I know you guys love Aaron Jones. I remember what that workload split was like in the 6 games when Aaron Jones came back after a knee injury in week 10. That includes a playoff game. Jones was averaging 15 PPR points per game. That's good, but he was also averaging just 10 carries per game. He was getting 4.7 targets per game, totaling 87 yards per game, and he was splitting the short yardage work with A.J. Dillon. But I want to point out that in those same 6 games, Dillon was averaging 12.3 PPR points per game himself. He was getting more carries per game than Aaron Jones, fewer targets per game, only 2 per game for him. I think he could still matter quite a bit in this Green Bay offense, and it wouldn't surprise me in the least if we saw a lot of plays where Dillon's lined up like a traditional running back and Aaron Jones is lined up in the slot. If he's truly one of their best pass catchers on the team, they'd be nuts not to use him as a receiver a little bit more.
Yep, they, when you start to look at the skill position players for the Packers, Jones 1, Dillon's probably 2. As much as I like Lazard, I know you probably say Dillon's probably 2 as well. But certainly big upside here for A.J. Dillon. All right, Your breakouts, you had DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney. I have a very similar pairing in how I like them and how you like those guys. I have Michael Pittman and Rashad Bateman as the two receivers here. Where you draft DJ Moore, I draft Michael Pittman. Where you're drafting Darnell Mooney, I'm drafting Rashad Bateman. And they sort of fall in line with a similar situation. Quarterback upgrade. Well, Pittman's got a quarterback upgrade, right? He's getting Matt Ryan, who we know likes to pepper his #1 receiver with targets. That's kind of been his MO the entire career, you know, from Roddy White to Julio Jones to Calvin Ridley. And I think we'll see the same thing for Michael Pittman, who was very good as a sophomore and by all accounts is just dominating in training camp and the joint practices with the Lions this week. And then Rashad Bateman takes over for Marquis Brown. And clearly we have to see how much are the Ravens going to throw. That's obviously the conversation, right? How much more are they going to throw? We saw 140 targets for Marquis Brown last year, 100 targets 2 years ago. The nice thing for Bateman is if he does just step into that role, 7 touchdowns is what Marquis Brown is average. If he gets that number and then can do anything in terms of his catches and his yards, he could be in line for a tremendous sophomore season. We know Mark Andrews is #1 guy there. Bateman should be #2 in terms of receptions. So I'm just going to ask you this. You get Moore and Mooney, you're taking those two over these two guys, right?
I would take those two over these two, yes.
All right, Dave, which duo are you taking? DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney or Michael Pittman, Rashad Bateman?
I think Pittman is worthy of a late second-round pick, so I'll just say Pittman and Bateman by default.
All right, Pittman and Bateman by default because you like Pittman better. So both these guys are headed for big seasons. In my opinion, Bateman is more of a round 5 pick. You're probably better off. You're not better off. You probably be able to get him in round 6, but Pittman is somebody that I look for at the end of round 2. Very excited about the upside for him.